the real relationship piece.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the key in what we're talking about. If this has to go for some way, some model in the fall, you know?
Yeah, we need to figure out what that piece is, because I mean you had made the comment about that in service or that webinar yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Like what was the power of that? Right? In terms of the revisiting of the documentation.
Yeah, and they looked back like years. Like
right.
Which we can do all that, and we do that, right?
Right.
We look at things and
well,
we
that's
rethink things,
and even that's why we share documentation between like groups of kids. Like when we started this year, we pulled from documentation if it aligned from like sometimes even our first year together at Russo. We
oh
pulled and
yeah,
showed things that kids were doing, right? To
yeah, the
inspire what
Miller
was
days.
happening.
Yes,
Right?
yes,
Like we
yes,
pulled those things. We
yeah,
pulled from those experiences that were there to inspire what was happening. But we could, like, I think what changed the most is in this past year and a bit, maybe,
mhm,
we haven't just recorded, but we've re-listened,
yes.
right? And
Like
maybe that happened like in our last year at Russo as well. But we we really went back to listen to what like we said and what kids said and like watch more closely.
yes. So, like for me, especially, I know
Yeah.
that I really started to listen to myself more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and my practice, and what I loved about it is and you're right. I think maybe in that last year at Russo's when it started, and we were able to point out things to each other too from it. Oh, did you see how you did that?
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? Like that kind of dialogue was so rich,
Yeah.
and like just
yeah, it was rich for us. Like it was rich for our like professional growth, right? If I
yeah,
think back to that leadership course, it was the recording of the videos that led to our discussion on a need to focus on pausing.
yes. You
For
remember that?
right, and very deliberate focus.
Oh my god, that was an epiphany. That was like everything,
It was.
right? And that was from recording.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I just like because we can't record now, which I understand and respect, and maybe in its own way has made me like relook at privacy pieces that I hadn't thought of before.
Mm-hmm.
But then how do we capture that stuff?
Even if we could just record dialogue.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know because like trying to write it down works, but it's not the same.
No. The only way would be to record it and then write it down after and then
Yes.
erase your recording.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like that's the only thing I can think of
Yeah.
because otherwise you're not present. Like if
No.
you're documenting, which was always the thing with documentation for me, because a lot of people in college and all that, you would think about documentation as running records, right?
Yeah.
So you're writing down everything. Oh, what did they say? You got to write it down. Well, you're missing that moment. Like you're not
Totally.
fully engaged. So your documentation is actually either in maybe if you're at the point where we are, we might be able to do that if you're observing.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're on an observing path, maybe.
Yeah.
But if you are, not, then you're taking away from that moment.
Yeah.
Or if you're reflecting on it without a recording, then your perception is only the only thing you're getting. You're not actually seeing what it actually was.
Right. And what are we missing from what the kids are saying or what have we misheard? Right.
It's like how much do you miss? Like so much.
Yeah. I feel like we miss a lot more, which makes me wonder what else we can do. Right.
Which is the power of the recording, which is my big thing. The power of that recorded documentation it's like nothing else.